I went to law school at the University of Miami and met my first client at a gas station. You're going to be on call pretty much 24 hours a day. A lot of the job, the actual job, people don't see. What you see is a consistent pattern of the players getting fucked.
Right.
But I still want to get my guys every single dollar. You can't do this for the love of money.
Right.
You can't. Like, he led the NFL in the most deals last year.
Wow.
Tied with Jaden Daniels for 18. DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end, Dallas Cowboys. I do not believe I've ever negotiated a bad contract.
I got super NFL agent.
That.
I say super NFL agent David Canter.
Welcome to Two Taps and Friends. Grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive into another episode of Two Taps and Friends.
Welcome back to Two Taps and Friends, everyone. I'm Danny Rosenberg, host of the show. Today I have a guy I've been trying to get on here, try to pin him down. He's like lightning. You got to try to bottle him. I got super NFL agent. I say super NFL agent David Canter. He's the best of the best. One of my closest friends. I consider him a relative, a brother of mine.
That's why the shirt says Two Taps and Brothers now. It doesn't say Two Taps and Friends.
He's the best. This guy is going
got
to
a
be full
notepad. Look at
entertainment.
this.
I got a notepad. I have to keep. I got to try to keep you organized, which is never going to happen.
It's not going to possible.
But thank you for coming on finally.
Thank you.
Man.
I just like that I could see the countdown clock in the production room.
Yeah.
So I know exactly when to shut up.
Exactly. Well, we'll see if that works.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Not possible.
I've never been able to do it.
Not possible.
But
This
dude,
is my bad side too. So please don't watch
all
this.
sides are good sides.
Just
Don't let him
listen.
fool you. He knows what he's doing. But listen, give the viewers and the audience a little intro of who you are, how you became an agent, that kind of thing. Give us that story because that's a great story.
I went to law school at the University of Miami and met my first client at a gas station. Is the fast version.
Right.
The real version is I was around pro athletes my whole life. Got very lucky at age 12 and 13 to be around Hall of Fame baseball player, now deceased Tony Gwynn.
Oh, yeah.
Spent a lot of time with the Padres and the Phillies just because of some geographical situations. And Tony taught me how to play the game, really taught me a lot about life and how to manage people and really just to be a human and look at it from a humanistic perspective versus just an athlete agent or athlete fan. And just one of the greatest people ever to walk this planet and really mentored me as a young kid and made me realize, like, if I'm never going to play pro baseball, which was my first love.
Right.
And then I worked for the Florida Marlins in college. I went to a small Division III college and played a little bit of football and baseball there. Got hurt playing baseball, but was on a team that ended up having some national championship success and won the national championship in 1991 and still have some friends from that team that I'm not super close to, but we talked from time to time. Actually, a guy in the sports agency industry, Joe Palumbo, who was kind of my mentor, wide receiver, and then he became an agent, now is a financial advisor for actually some of our clients, which is completely random and weird.
Right.
And
Not so random.
when I worked for the Florida Marlins, the Padres came into play, and I remember, taking BP with the team, like not me taking it, but I'm at BP with the team, and Tony and I are in the clubhouse, and I'm driving in the golf cart talking to him, and he's like, this is crazy, like, you're gonna do this, right? I'm like, I think I wanna be an agent. And he had some business dealings that fell apart, got some money stolen from him and stuff like that.
Right. How old are you at this point?
19 or 20.
Okay.
So this is the Marlins' second season, so 94, so 2021.
Okay.
21 years old. And I wanted to be a baseball agent. Like, that was my dream. And he told me, and a lot of people told me, like, it's a 5 to 7 year revenue gen. Like, you're going to babysit a kid for 5 to 7 years, and he may never make the big leagues.
Right.
And then a lot of times the bigger agents will come in and
swoop
steal
him,
them.
right.
Scott Boras is obviously the best agent in the baseball industry, and for the longest time, and even in the mid-90s, he was really groundswelling and coming up and getting players to leave some of the other agencies and build his massive monster business. And so I went to law school because, and only because, in 1994, they locked out the players. The owners canceled the World Series. I think it's only the second time in history.
I remember that.
And I was working for the Florida Marlins, and I think my dates might be wrong, so please don't fact check me on ChatGPT.
Right.
But I think it was August 12th, 1994. And I remember Dave Dombrowski was the general manager of the team. And he calls me in the office, and he's like, hey, great job. After tonight's game, you're fired. And I was like, what'd I get fired for? He's like, oh, no, the owners have voted to lock out the players. We can't agree on a collective bargaining agreement. And this was all stuff that was way over my head. You know, I'm getting a sports management degree at Ithaca. It's not like I'm getting, you know, a Harvard MBA or whatever.
Right.
And are we allowed to mention that school after the previous segment?
But go ahead.
And so I was like, wow, the players really got screwed. Like, you know, they really got screwed by the owners. And so I remember going down into like the tunnel, because back then the Marlins didn't have a stadium. They played at Pro Player Stadium, which is
Right, I remember.
Joe Robbie Stadium, which is, you know, now called Hard Rock Stadium, and it's probably had 30 other names before that or since that. And so I'm in the tunnel, and they don't have a plane to get home. The owners pay for the planes.
Wow.
The players, I remember it was like Greg Jeffries and all these weird guys that were playing the St. Louis Cardinals. And the St. Louis Cardinals are a baseball team, for those of you thinking
Greg
about
Jeffries
the NFL.
was a great baseball player.
Arizona
by the way.
Cardinals are the football
Right.
team. And so I literally was like, well, I don't know how to book a plane. They're like, no, our players union got us a plane, and they had never carried their own bags. So Major League Baseball, they're very spoiled.
Right.
Literally, they leave their bag, and they can roll in like their little roller, but their equipment and stuff, all of that left. Everything was gone except for their personal stuff. So the players like divided up this private plane to get back to St. Louis. And then it went August, September, obviously October, World Series canceled. It went into, I think, the next spring. And by then I was a senior in college, and I was like, baseball sucks. Like, F this sport. I don't want to be involved with these
Right.
assholes, you know? And so I ended up enrolling in law school. I was waitlisted, got into Miami, and literally go to a gas station, get pulled over for having a broken,
I always tell this story.
a broken
by the way.
right
It's a
tail
great
light.
story.
It's a true story too.
I
It's
know,
not
I
like
believe
it's
me.
not like, you know, Famous Amos and the cookies.
I was just telling Jacob this story. but go ahead.
And I go to this gas station, and I get pulled over by a cop, and he goes, that's a you know, gas station across the street. I'll give you a $75 ticket, or I can see you go over there and get a light bulb, because I just think your light bulb turn signal's burned out. And I'm a poor law student. I have no money.
Right.
And I'm like, $75 I don't have. Like, I'll go pay the $1 for the
Right.
thing. And I'm in the back seat of the car, and I'm in the trunk, and I'm in the back with like I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right,
And he
right.
sees me and then leaves. And I'm like, yeah, sure, buddy, thanks.
got
you know,
this.
take care. I'm going to really figure out how to do this, like the most unhandy person in the world. And so this green Range Rover pulls up. And back in 1995, 1996, nobody had Range Rovers,
No,
let alone
man.
this like old Tyrannosaurus Rex green Range Rover.
Right, right.
I don't even know how he got it in the country. I should
Right.
actually ask him.
Right.
And Lamar Thomas steps out. And Lamar Thomas was the Miami Hurricane. You know, this is not the same stadium, but similar. Lamar Thomas is a Miami Hurricane legend. He was like the god. He was part of the Afros, for those that don't know. And they
Right.
were America's finest receivers on Saturday. And so I loved Lamar Thomas. He would celebrate like a 2-yard out route like it was a 10,000-yard catch. and I love those old Miami Hurricane teams. I grew up in South Florida, you know, went to the Orange Bowl as a young kid, watched them, went to college, watched him, and kind of forgot about him as an NFL player. And it ended up that he had gotten drafted by the Buccaneers, but it didn't work out for like 2 or 3 years. And then he got traded to the Dolphins because Jimmy Johnson, his former college coach,
Right.
was now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
And so here he is, 5 feet away from me. I jump in front of him. I'm like, I want to be an agent. I want to learn everything about the agent business. He's like, hey, man, listen, I don't have no time for this shit. Like, he had someone back at the apartment. Like, I don't know how far this podcast will
You
go.
can say what you want to
But
say.
he had someone that he needed to go take care of some business
I
with.
understand.
And he gave me his pager number, and I think I spent 3 or 4 months beeping him every day. And one
that,
day,
dude.
it's a real story. One day he goes, what's up, man? Who the fuck is this? And I was like, oh, you met me at the gas station, blah, blah, blah. And I remembered the name of the girl,
Right.
which blew him away. And still to this day,
He
I
didn't
know
remember
it.
the name of the girl, probably.
No, of course
Right.
not.
Go
And
ahead.
I mean, dude, it's Lamar Thomas.
Yeah,
He's Coconut Grove. He's living the dream.
exactly, right.
And you know, he's a god in Miami. And so I go, I want to be your agent. He goes, I don't have an agent, but you could do my marketing. I was like, where are you? He goes, man, we're at Hooters. I said, who's we? He goes, and he names like 10 Miami Hurricanes legends.
Oof.
By the time he said the last name, I had a landline because we didn't have cell phones back then. I had dropped my phone and sprinted out the door about 8 blocks away in Coconut Grove to Hooters, which is where they were.
Right.
I got to the second floor of the Hooters, and I was like sweating and out of breath. And I knew some of the people that worked there, and I was like, are there football players at the, over there? And they're like, yeah. And I went in and got those like terrible brown paper towels and
Oh,
like
yeah,
washed my
just
face.
stick all over your
Try
face.
to look cool.
Yeah.
Walk in, I'm like, what's up, fellas? And I left that table with, I think, doing marketing for like 7 of those guys.
Wow.
That was 30 years ago.
Wow.
So I've been doing this ever since.
And then it just it
Never
spiraled.
worked a day in my life.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
listen. See, you say that, but a lot of people.
As I look at my cell phone
Well,
during
exactly.
the
What I'm saying, a
podcast.
lot of people like know that we're close friends, and they ask me a lot of questions about you and what it is, what an agent does.
Yes.
But dude, I tell them like you work really hard. I own a law firm and I work hard, but you work really hard. Talk to the viewers about. Like, first of all, what does an agent do daily? Because people don't say, they think you just come in,
Look
you
at my
do the
phone.
contract,
Yeah.
you sign it, you get the thing, you get the big bucks. Talk about what your day looks like, what you do daily.
Well, I think the best part of the business is also the worst part of the business is that there is no normal day, right?
Right.
Because, the fun part is Sunday.
Sure.
You can watch your clients play.
Well, it's stressful
but
for
it's
you.
not fun
Yeah,
because
yeah.
then they get hurt.
Right.
Or you see situations where they don't play as well, or they miss a tackle, or they drop a ball, and you have to be a little bit of a psychiatrist.
Right.
You have to be a bit of a doctor because you have to obviously get second medical opinions and talk to the teams about how they view the injury versus how you view the injury, and obviously they view it through their financial lens, and you as an agent have to view it through a humanistic lens.
Right.
Going back to the Tony Gwynn teachings, and so these are people, and I think that's the hardest part to remember is my job is to represent people. But my job is to get those people paid as much money as possible because their window will close. The aperture will close very fast.
Right.
On
Especially for NFL.
a career especially.
Right.
And maybe I should have been a baseball agent. I'd
Exactly.
Probably,
Those
I'd
guys
probably
get
be a lot
paid
richer.
no matter
Yeah,
what,
I'd
right?
probably be a lot
Guarantee.
richer.
We'll
But-
get to the guarantee
yeah,
part in a minute, but go ahead.
You cannot be an agent specifically in football just based on the money.
Right.
If you are, you're going to either go broke fast or you're going to be very unhappy fast because there's no pot of gold. Like everybody sees the Joe Burrow contract or the Josh Allen contract. Those are one of one.
Right.
And not only that, they're the one of one. And Dak Prescott makes more money than them. Dak Prescott, I think this year is like the 5th highest paid athlete in the world.
Right.
From a salary and cash flow basis. And
Right.
so to go back to your question, I think that you have to be very cognizant that you're going to work a lot. You're going to be on call pretty much 24 hours a day for your entire career. Like it is very difficult. I'm very lucky because I have an amazing business partner, a young guy that I nurtured, and I have Brian, obviously, who's been with me for almost 15
you have
years
a good
now.
team with you.
Our team is exceptional, so I can actually. I went to Japan this summer with my family, which that's a whole other continent.
saw that,
You know,
right.
time changes and things like that, but you have to time when you're not available, right? And even then, I'm still,
You're still available.
waking up
Just
to
like
answer
me.
text messages,
Right.
going to sleep, answering emails and text messages. And so a lot of the job, the actual job, people don't see, which is why I say I've never worked a day in my life.
Right.
I don't go to an office, so I'm very lucky.
Right.
I don't have to like push paperwork all day long in the
Right.
office. Deals happen, like I did a deal this morning driving over here for a practice squad guy. So the workout happened last week. We booked the flights and the arrangements last week, and then obviously this week, he went and worked out this morning. They offered him the contract, and that's a 2-minute procedure. We're not negotiating a big multi-year deal. But last weekend during, was it Labor Day weekend, we spent 19, 20 hours off and on doing Jalen Warren's contract extension, the Pittsburgh Steelers running back.
Right.
So, and it just happened like that. Like the Steelers decided, hey, we want to talk about maybe doing an extension for Jalen. That was Thursday. Friday it was, hey, here's where we'd be. Sort of a 24-hour reset because of Shabbos and because of Ness and Brian and me to do the numbers, the research, the analytics with Ness. Saturday night, talked a little bit more. Sunday, really tried to hammer it down at around 7 o'clock p.m. Monday morning, he's in the building signing the contract, right? It could have easily gone the other way where we just couldn't agree to terms and, deal fell apart and we didn't really mutually agree on it. But the player had never made money. He got $8,000 to sign as an undrafted free agent, and this year he's making over $7 million.
Wow.
It's tough to turn that down, right?
Right.
And the running back position, there's just no guarantees
Right.
that you'll stay healthy for 17 weeks, and more importantly, that you get to free agency next year, and teams want you.
Right.
Because J.K. Dobbins, I think, had 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns, and he's making $2 million this year, $3 million this year. The market is a very weird, fickle thing at
Right.
that position. And so you have to be cognizant of that. But, to go back to your original question, I don't know that there's like a normal 9 to 5, 9 to 9, 8 to 6, 7 in the morning. I mean, I'm waking up at 4, 5, 6 a.m. to just peek at the phone. I'm typically out of bed 7:05, 6:50 most days, and then it's going to 1 or 2 in the morning because you have your West Coast clients, right?
Right.
Last night, incredible game. You're waiting until I mean, I can look at my phone. You're waiting until probably 1 a.m. until you can actually get on the phone with a client who played in the game. So yeah, it was 12:40.
Right.
So, you know, those are long nights, right?
Right.
And so I think that the other part of the business people don't understand is the recruiting side, right? Football, especially more than almost any other sport,
Right.
your guys are gone. Their career is over in 3, 5, 7, 9 years. You know, we have some veteran guys that it's hard for them to accept that they haven't gotten phone calls because they've aged out, right? That's not our fault. It's the sport's fault.
What does it age out? What does that
I mean,
typical
30
look like?
years to 35 years old, it's getting close to over.
Wow.
So like by the time you're 33, 34, 35, you're lucky if even one team considers you. Now, I'm not talking about quarterbacks
Sure,
or
those guys,
kickers
right.
or, you know.
The Brady's at 42.
Yeah, of
right.
course. And even he is him and Aaron Rodgers are the, true exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Maybe Russell Wilson, I think, is in his mid-30s and some guys like that. You know, Joe Flacco obviously starting for the Browns and playing pretty well yesterday, even though, they lost.
Yeah.
And so that position's a little bit different, right? Because there's only so many good quarterbacks, and even, obviously locally, you see Miami pays Tua. He struggled immensely yesterday, and, hopefully picks it up and plays better next week.
Right.
And so that's the other part of the industry that people don't see, the behind closed door stuff, like why teams do that. You've seen it because you've been around me a lot. You've been to
Right.
the combine with me.
Right.
There's so much off the page work
Oh, my God.
that's done. And I think that's why it's essential that players have agents. And again, I'm not just saying this for me. There's a lot of really good agents out there in the football industry.
Sure.
But it's essential that the players understand how much behind the scenes goes on that they cannot be a part of. Like the conversations that you witnessed, the whole DeMarcus Lawrence, Dallas Cowboys stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really, prevalent right now because of what happened with Micah Parsons getting traded. And I think yesterday he came out and said, the last 6 months were the worst 6 months of his life. And it was just a disgusting scenario that he got into, the he said, she said with Jerry and Steven and the organization. You were on the other side of it where, you saw DeMarcus get franchise tagged with me, us agree to play it out. Then the next year, because he hadn't really been healthy and successful for his
Right.
first 3 years in the NFL, he had back injuries and surgeries and stuff. And then you saw him play it out, and then them go, hey, we're going to franchise tag him again. And the animosity it created between me and the organization.
Oh, yeah.
I think at one point in time, Stephen Jones and I were,
One of the
kissing and hugging and punching each other at the same
One
time.
of the fun, sitting on the Dallas Cowboy bus, by the way, which is in and of itself its own experience.
Yeah, I mean, you've been
You
on the
hang
bus.
around David Canter, you're gonna have some experiences.
Not a lot of people have been on the bus that
Yeah.
have their own podcast.
Yeah,
Two Taps and Friends and the Cowboys bus.
Yeah.
So, I think that those are all things that, from a what do you do for a living standpoint, it's hard. I guess Jerry Maguire is the best synthesis.
right.
But the perfect synthesis for Jerry Maguire is, I don't know if you remember, there was like a little 3-minute scene where every day he's on a plane, he's at a game, he's back in the airport, he like nods to someone, as I think it's his ex-girlfriend or something, she's a media person, and he nods to her, and I think it's Kelly Preston actually, John
Yeah.
Travolta's, I think,
She
passed
passed,
away.
yeah, she did.
Now that I think about it, gosh, I guess we all fade and we all get old.
Yeah.
I'm trying to live forever. And so that's really the business, right?
Right.
Like I'm going to the game this weekend in Pittsburgh alone.
You travel more than
Like,
anyone I've ever
wake
I've
up
ever
at 8 in
sat.
the morning, drive an hour and a half because I got to get a different flight out of a different airport because I'm going to be in Orlando for something else. So I got to go to Tampa, fly Southwest. There's no glamour to it. I'm getting on just like everybody else, herding cattle. I'm hoping to get an aisle seat.
Right.
And then 3 hours to Pittsburgh and get off and then literally go right to lunch with my Seahawks clients. Obviously try to see John Schneider, the GM, see Joey Lane, see the coaching staff, talk about DeMarcus and talk about Connor O'Toole, who we have on the team, talk about Chaz Surratt, talk about Brandon Peely. We have 4 guys on the Seahawks. See Jaylen Warren, obviously, because they're playing the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Go to the game at 10 in the morning because you got to be on the field before the kickoff. You got
right.
to see your guys again. And then you sit in the stands just like everybody else.
Right.
You're looking
Eating
at your phone the whole
nachos.
time, eating shitty food.
Right,
yeah,
right.
getting a soft pretzel that makes you feel like crap and you're like, why'd I eat it? Thankfully I don't eat I don't drink soda. And then you're looking for a coffee because you're walking around the stadium because you're exhausted because it's,
Right.
you're watching one game and
You're
5
watching
guys.
10 games.
But yesterday I watched
that's a
8
lot.
games at once. So it's
Yeah.
like, 7
I've sat
games at
there
once.
with you.
So that's the best part of the job. It's the stressful part, but to me it's the most fun because I don't have to fly. I I don't have to go anywhere. I can still eat crappy food and just sit there and look at my phone, have my computer, have my iPad, talk to Brian and Ness, and really do what we do as agents. And talk to some teams. Like yesterday, I talked to a team in game.
Right.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, you're the best at that, but a lot of people don't see things like you are also doing things all day that people don't even think of. You got to get the reservation for them at dinner.
Yeah.
You got to book them
Yeah,
flights.
we're doing
you gotta
a moving
find
company
this.
right now.
You got to do a moving company. Like you're constantly doing these things that are
We're
just.
sending a car today. I'll tell you right now, we're sending a car today, and we're moving. Actually, Jalen Warren's moving to a better apartment now that he has some money.
Right. I mean, they call their agent for everything.
Here's the pictures. Here's his cat stand. Look, for his, I'm not lying to you.
I'm not lying.
Here,
I know
this
you're
is
not
with the
lying.
mover.
I know you're not.
Here's a whole video of his. Here's his closet. Here's his dirty clothes. This is real life.
Dude, that's
Here,
right.
This is the player's closet.
Oh my goodness.
Here, we'll
This
put it
is-
on the camera. I don't know if
this
we
is-
should put this up
This
there.
is
but
what you
I'm
probably
sorry,
should-
Jalen.
You
I'm
should
sorry,
put his
Jalen.
clothes on camera.
There's his
You should-
PlayStation and his Xbox and his computer. Look, this is real. This is all the shit we have to do.
This
We're
is-
moving
dude,
him.
But people don't realize,
It's
like,
insane.
you've become like you're expert, almost like a mini expert. Every kind of law we have to do it too. You become a mini expert in everything.
You have to be a
You
jack of all
find-
trades and a master of none.
quick, and you got to do it fast. Like
yes.
these guys want things fast.
Well,
you
remember
know?
the competition now, especially with NIL, and it's probably a good segue.
Well, I wanted to bring
into
about
that. Yeah.
competition, so go.
It
Let's start.
is now to the point where I think the smarter companies have realized they have to have a David Canter that's the contract guy, relationship guy, the face of the franchise, so to speak.
Right.
But then they have to have 20 other people servicing the business.
Right.
The football business is every year your revenues will go up and down based on injuries, based on aging out, based on cuts that you can't control, based on a player who becomes a starter and then a year later he's no longer that good. It just
Right.
happens. It's
Not on any team I've seen. It's insane.
It's insane. It's insane. It's the sport of you cannot predict anything that's going to happen. Just like last night. I mean, Buffalo comes back down 16 points with 4 or 5 minutes to go. Derrick Henry, who's usually super sure-handed, fumbles the ball out of nowhere. Bills score. They don't get a 2-point conversion. So you're like, okay, wow, the Ravens are still going to win this. Ravens then punt on 4th and 3rd. Bills score again. Don't get a 2-point conversion. Excuse me, the punt was the last series. And then they drive down the field and kick a field goal with a kicker that's been in the building for 2 days.
Right.
And I don't know if you've seen the highlight. The ball, a offensive lineman jumps outside instead of inside, which I can't fathom doing on a field goal. It's just terrible special teams and execution.
Right.
And a guy literally jumps in and misses the ball by, a millimeter. I mean, not even an inch, a milli-inch. And so I don't think that's a real measurement. And so I went to
works.
Ithaca,
We
buddy.
get it.
I
We
went to
get it.
Ithaca and Miami Law. We're not scientists. And so I'll save that for your other podcast guest members. And so I think that what's happened with NIL is the bigger agencies have thrown just massive amounts of money and resources at it. They've said, we're going to buy high school kids. Your son's a great high school player. They go to
the starter of Heritage. That kid, the quarterback, is getting how much?
perfect
7 million?
example. Numbers are 10 million and up. 10 million and up is the number to go to Texas. And Dia's a great example, right? He is a professional athlete who happens to play high school football for
Right.
American Heritage High School in
At
Plantation
17.
Park. I think he's 18 now. But since Dia was 15, he's earned, because he's an incredible kid, amazing family. I love them dearly. I don't represent them.
Right.
I wish I did. But he is with a big mega agency that has people just to manage a high school kid. That's a lot of work
Right.
because the games are on Friday. The games are not on TV. You have to go find the research. Although for Heritage, obviously, a lot of their games are on TV
Right,
or
right.
they're more easy to find. But I'll give you a good example. Gage Weddle, Eric's son, was Mr. Football Freshman of the Year in California. Just this past week was at Oklahoma with Eric, and Eric's obviously the head coach of the team too. And they have 30 guys on their team because 30 kids quit because they can't handle Eric and they can't handle discipline and they can't handle what it takes to be a winner. And Eric's like, okay, good. Go.
Shout out to Eric. Love you, buddy.
Yeah,
Miss you.
Transfer, leave.
Right.
He's probably struggling a little bit because I said some nasty things to him last night about the Ravens.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
goodness.
He used to play for the Ravens. And so, so Gage is now in that next class of the next anointed, you're going to be the next great college player, whether it's safety or he ends up getting bigger and plays linebacker or he ends up staying at quarterback, like who knows? And, you know, we talk about it all the time because obviously, you know, I've known Gage his whole life since before he was born. It's now a business. Like high school football is $1 billion business and the kids are able to finally monetize it, right? And the colleges have taken a 2 or 3 year curve learning to catch up to where they need to be. Obviously, Congress, the government, and all societies trying to put these kids back in the jar, and the jelly's out of the jar now. Like, they deserve to get paid. I'm not saying the swimming captain who runs, you know, does the 100-meter breaststroke deserves to get paid what the quarterback captain gets, you know, on the football team. But I think that the money is so big that you have to be cognizant as an agent to not let it jade why you want to represent people. That's always you can't do this for the love of money. You can't. Like, if you love money, go work in the finance industry. You know, it's like you make a great living. You have a podcast, you have another vacation home, you have a great family, you have nice cars, you have nice things. You've earned all that because you work 20 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, and you put together a great team of people behind you too. But you didn't do it because you worked in the prosecutor's office, right?
Or the public
defender's office, even worse. You work for free. And you defended bad people, and now you defend people for a living, right? So when you're doing it as a public defender, you're not doing it going, oh, man, this $62,000 a year I'm making from the
62,
whatever it was. I don't know what you're making.
38.5.
Yeah, 30. Okay, so 38.5.
Right.
Like, I remember when Dave Dombrowski was like, hey, you know, when the lockout's over, we could probably get you a job, you know, like probably 27.5. And I was like,
come again?
I was like, hey, you know, I do this thing on weekends where, like, my buddy owns some nightclubs and I promote nightclubs, and I made $4,300 last week. Like, that was a week. I was like, I had, you know, a bunch of kids came to the event, and I get paid like $15, and I get 20% of the bar, and they all drank and had a great weekend. I was like, I made like $4,000. I remember saying I made like $4,300 last week, and he was like, huh? He goes just like this. I'm gonna curse. He goes, do that fucking shit for the living, for a living.
Exactly.
He's like, hire me. You know, this is 1994 or 5. And so, I mean, obviously, Dave became, you know, an incredible baseball success, and so it's one of those things where I think if you meet great people in the world, most of them, although Bitcoin I think changes it a little bit, crypto changes it a little bit, you know, the fast money that's out there now, especially here in South Florida. What's our saying in one of our chats? South Florida is a sunny place for shady people. So that's hard to not get caught up in. But the real good agents, the best in the business, they didn't do this for money. You know, now the money's obviously massive, right? You have $100 million contracts, 3%. You can do the math if you can get 3%.
Let's talk about contracts.
Yeah,
for a
please.
minute. So explain to people, like I learned this being around you. People hear the big number. When you're negotiating a contract, first of all, let's start by what only matters. We know what only matters in a contract, and what is kind of the hang up where exactly, and where do people screw up, or where do like players make mistakes in contracts?
Well,
and you're a master of this. I've seen you do it with the best.
I think the biggest trend that's the most upsetting for me is the national media and the bigger agencies are in cahoots to promote a false number. And the narrative is so-and-so got a 5-year, $150 million deal. What you don't realize is there were 2 years remaining on the deal. Did those 2 years just disappear? No, it's 5 years plus the 2. So now your $150 million, which is still a massive number, God bless the player, and the deal is divided by 7 years, not 5, right? And so that narrative is tremendously pushed. And at the same time, because of the new draft system, because of the weak CBA that favors the owners over the players, and this is an ageism reason as well, the middle class of our league, which used to really make up teams, you'd have $3 to $8 million a year quality players that were rotational starter pieces, depth backups. Those guys have all but evaporated because you would draft a guy in the 5th round, because for the same deal you can give him for 4 seasons, you would have to pay that veteran for 1 year, right? Told to the players back in 2011, hey, we're going to get rid of the rookie crazy numbers because of the DeMarcus Russells that are getting 50, 70 million guaranteed and not developing into becoming good players. And because of that, more money is going to go to the veterans. Well, no.
Right.
More owners have mega yachts. Stadiums have gone up. Team values have gone through the roof. You know, almost every team is worth multiple billions of dollars, or every team is worth at least $4 billion or $5 billion now. I saw something the other day. If the Cowboys were to sell, it'd be $15 billion. Would be just a ticket to get into the meeting.
What can rookies make? What is the 3-year cap now? What does it do?
Well,
with
so
the-
that's
what-
the other
tell-
thing.
Tell me
So
what
it's a
that
4
did
year.
with it.
So it's not a 3 year. It's
Okay,
4
4
years.
years.
So that's the other problem, right? So if you're drafted in the first round, it's 5 years.
Okay.
So you have 4 years plus a team, not a player, a team option. The team goes, hey, we're going to pay you for your 5th year. Now there's a calculation. If you have Pro Bowls, you know, if you played enough percentages of plays,
Sure.
you get a bigger number. But that number is clearly nowhere near what the market is. And that's the Micah Parsons conversation. His number was like in the $20 million range, and he's making $40 million plus a year. That's $17 million if I do the math correctly. And I think his number in new money, again, the new money game, is
Right.
$47 million. It's not the real number.
Right.
And so where the bigger agents and agencies, and you know, we are one as well, I think the difference between us is we want our guys to get every single dollar,
Right.
not to do an early deal that favors the team.
Right.
And what happens is when you do the early deal, you're locking in guarantees, you're locking in security, you're getting paid,
Right.
but you're not getting paid market. You're not getting paid what you really deserve to get paid. And you remember these fights with Olivier Vernon
Oh, yeah.
and Paul Soliai and some other guys, you know, Sean Smith down my career, you know,
Right.
Weddle. A lot of times for me, the money that the players are leaving on the table in these new deals the last 5 years is equal to the amount of money that they'd be getting. So imagine you're getting $20 million a year. If you play out your deal, you could be getting $40 million a year.
Right.
That's lunacy. That's bad agenting. And there's a lot of it going on because the business is Costco now.
Right.
So Costco makes their money selling literal bundles of product.
Right.
Not one piece of furniture or one bed or one roll of toilet paper, millions of rolls of toilet paper. It's a volume-based business. And so what's happened is because of NIL, because of the rookie pool, the bigger agencies are now signing 20, 30 guys in every draft, and they're just spitting out redos of contracts after 3 years. It's, hey, after 3 years, you got to get paid. Well, but what after 4 years, if I can get $10 million a year more, is it, well, the injury risk. Okay, but I can protect against the injury risk too.
Right.
There's better insurance products out there.
Right.
There's people like Eugene Dorfman,
Eugene
who their whole
Dorfman.
life,
Shout out to insurance
yeah,
guy.
is to bring down the downside, right?
Right.
There's people that are great financial advisors like Don Weir, who manage money. And so there's tools and mechanisms in place to protect the players better than ever,
Right.
and yet the deals are getting done quicker and quicker and quicker and are worse and worse and worse. The trickle-down effect to that is the averages don't go up. I say this all the time. I guess Josh Allen would now be in that conversation too. If you were starting a franchise and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were unfettered free agents, open market, 32 teams can make you a high bid, is there anyone in their right mind that wouldn't pay Pat Mahomes 5 years, $100 million, fully guaranteed, $500 million?
No. Right.
He's instantaneously makes your team a world champion, play a Super Bowl contender,
Right.
no matter what.
Right.
Don't tell me, oh, we can't fit it into the cap. Don't give me that bullshit, because that's all bullshit.
Right.
90% of owners, except for Mike Brown from the Bengals, because they have Joe Burrow, you know, the owner of the Chargers, Spanos, is because they have Herbert.
Right.
You know, the Dolphins, how quick do you think that Stephen Ross would fly the jet to Kansas
Oh,
City
yeah.
to pick up Pat Mahomes if they said, hey, we're willing to trade you Pat Mahomes? Not even trade you. We'll sell you Pat Mahomes, like in soccer, right?
Right.
And so there's a fundamental problem in our sport.
Shout out to you. I remember the first time I get on the I get on the Cowboys bus. I'm sitting there. There's a lot of moments with David Canter where I'm just sitting there. I look around. I'm like, where the hell are we? Right? The red carpets, to this, to that, and the Joneses come on, and I'm starstruck. And I literally look at David, and he's beating him up, man, beating him up.
I don't know
you
about that.
Like, well, they were beating you up too, but you know what I mean. Like the fact that just speaking to the fact of you going toe to toe with some of the biggest names,
Listen,
biggest names out there, right?
I think that you're, I appreciate the comment. I think that I'm lucky in that doesn't impress me, right? And probably because I was on Dan Snyder's private jet doing the biggest deal in NFL history back in 1999, 2000
Oh,
for
yeah.
Stephen Davis.
I remember.
You know, it was a $100 million deal when nobody did $100 million deals for running backs. And a lot of that number was fake and BS and, you know, and bullshit because, you know, a 9-year
Pumped up,
deal.
puffery.
Yeah, pumped up, a lot of
Yeah.
puffery. 9 years, $135 million. And I talked to Stephen yesterday, actually, or Saturday. And, you know, but I'm on a private jet and there's a gold sink and there's Redskin
Yeah.
throw pillows and
Right,
everything.
right.
And I'm like, okay, cool. How does that make him more money?
Yeah, we got to get him more money.
Exactly.
That's it.
You know, we got picked up in a helicopter at the airport and flown into the stadium. They had Hail to the Victor playing with the band.
They bedazzle
and
you.
all that pomp
They
and
try.
circumstance. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, he's still got to go out and play football. He's still got to go
Right.
risk his life and limb. And so I do think, and I really do hope, that the players choose better. I think that it's easy to get bedazzled by some of the big toys that the bigger agencies have.
Right.
And I think that what happens is sometimes you pull back the curtain and you get an injury and there's not multiple second opinion doctors. They're not instantly on text with your mom talking to her about the injury. They're not getting the x-ray from downstairs right when your player breaks his leg sent to your cell phone so you can then send it to 5 other doctors like we did, you know, 2 years ago for a client who'll remain nameless. And so I think that sometimes what happens is the attention to detail is lost. The one thing I pride myself on, 30 years, I will say this, I do not believe I've ever negotiated a bad contract. I don't have one contract out there that I'm like, damn it, we could have gotten them $1.5 million more, $3 million more. I wish we did 5 years instead of 4, things like that. And the reason is we weigh the contracts, me, Brian, and Ness. We look at the analytics, we look at the marketplace, and then we're talking to the other teams, right? This is still a relationship business, no different than you
Sure.
talking to the judge or talking to the
Right.
opposing counsel,
Right.
you know, on a sidebar or off the book, seeing them at the beach club. These are people that I have a real relationship with and have had for years and years and years. We were doing DeMarcus Lawrence's contract with the Seattle Seahawks, and I'll use it because it's a really good example. And we had real competition from the Commanders. Dan Quinn was the defense coordinator, DeMarcus's last D coordinator in his, you know, Pro Bowl seasons when he played for the Cowboys.
Right.
Obviously, he had an injury-riddled season last year with the Cowboys. They weren't even going to be in the dance, and it becomes a 2-horse race. And the Commanders are doing a lot of moving things at the same time, and Seattle's locked in. We're getting DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be a Seahawk. Let's get this deal done. And John Schneider, who you've met many times, is the GM, but I consider him a friend. Listen, will we motherfuck each other? Absolutely.
Right.
And then we'll hug it out and go get a beer, right?
business.
He's someone that I actually care about. I care about the success of his team. I was upset that they lost a game they should have won yesterday, not just for my clients on the Seahawks, but for the building,
Right.
for the GM, for the team, for the ownership. And so when you have those real relationships, the numbers matter implicitly and explicitly. But sometimes what'll push you over the hump is when someone's telling you something, you know that they're not coming, and this doesn't have anything to do with the Commanders or the
Sure,
Seahawks.
sure.
You know they're not coming to you or coming at you from a true place of transparency. And repeated relationships with people not being fully transparent will determine future relationships and if I send my clients to them. If all things are equal, there are multiple teams that are on my, hey, they're over here list,
Right.
because I know they won't do business with me and my clients in a fair, truthful, and upright manner.
Right.
No different than you talking to a prosecutor
Right.
and you're like, this guy's bullshitting me 13 times.
Right.
There's not going to be a 14th,
Right.
right? I'm not going to deal with these people ever again. That doesn't mean I can say, hey, I'm never going to deal with them, but they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt
Sure.
if all things are equal for the
Yeah,
player.
it comes to relationships
Yeah,
and experience
absolutely.
and your history with them. Let's move on to like social media.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to say. I've never seen, and it's
The
pervasive
cancer
now. I
of
know,
social
I know.
media.
Well, it's pervasive everywhere now.
Yeah.
But in the NFL world or the sports world in general, just in my experience with it, and watching you do it all the time, I don't think it's ever been more. There's more of a tool used in an industry than social media. Talk to me about how social media works for you, how it works against you, and you're a master of it. I mean,
Yeah, I
you're
mean-
on a lot. You're doing a lot. People want to go follow him. Go follow at David Canter. It's one of the most
Twitter-
entertaining.
Twitter, I backed way away.
Twitter.
Don't follow me anymore.
And
I don't
entertaining,
say shit on there anymore. No, I'm
entertaining
kidding.
followers you'll ever have. But talk to me about that and how the industry works with it.
I think that it's super, super unique. If you're a shrewd business person, and I'll go back to DeMarcus, we realized about 4 or 5 years ago that his Instagram could be a vehicle to build relationships with corporations.
Right.
So DeMarcus Lawrence, Joe Mugrabi, Ness Mugrabi, the brothers, David Canter, will literally go on his Instagram and will directly message corporations. He led the NFL in the most deals last year,
Wow.
tied with Jaden Daniels for 18. DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end, Dallas Cowboys. He played 4 games last year.
Right.
So he uses his Instagram as a business weapon because he realized a while ago when we traded out his marketing team and we traded out his financial services team that he's made enough money now that it would be silly to not use that money to transition him into a businessman post-football, right? So he has real estate plays, he has multiple investment vehicles, he's a startup guy, he's a engine into himself of a business person. And it's crazy because I've known him his whole life
Right.
since he's basically 13.
Marcus is
You know,
the
he's a
best.
JUCO kid, he's from the low country in South Carolina, and what he's been able to do is generation change, right? His generations will now have things that he never grew up
Right.
with. His brother's family, his kids, his daughter goes to NYU for crying out loud. Like, you know, he's raised an incredible family, and his wife Sasha deserves all the credit in the world for being his backbone and his support. And I think he listened to smart business people like myself, like Don, like Joe, like Ness, and Brian as well, and we put together a great team around him, and he gets to now just go play free, right? These next 2 years in Seattle, he's gonna have the time of his life because it's coming to an end. Football will be over, right?
Right.
And so you look at like the success of an Eric Weddle, you look at the success of a DeMarcus Lawrence or an Olivier Vernon, whose career was cut short due to injury. If you're preparing for the end while you're in it, there's steps you should take, right?
Right.
So for him, social media was a huge step. He had I think about 600,000, maybe 700,000 Instagram followers. Twitter has now faded away tremendously. You know, whether it's the rebranding by Elon Musk or you know,
Right.
the divisiveness that Twitter sows and all the negativity that spews on Twitter and the hate.
Oh, yeah.
Instagram has avoided that still, thankfully, more or less. You can turn off comments,
Right.
right? And so the other thing is the power of the post. The Kardashians, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, these people are getting millions and millions and millions of dollars for one post, right? So the companies and guys like my good friend Chris Dietert, who you know, and his brother Ryan, who own influential.co, they realized that there was a way to categorize and analyze the data for when you post. The teams and the agents and the agencies like ourselves, we've been ahead of that curve for about 6 years now, partly due to my relation with Chris, right?
Right.
And so we're able to take a Tank Dell, who due to injury won't play football this year, and he'll make $500,000 in marketing
Wow.
because of Instagram, because of Twitter, because of social media, right? Facebook at one point in time was kind of like the thing. You'd have to have a page, kind of like your MySpace page.
Right.
You know, people
Remember
would
that?
go to it, or then you know, players would always be like, "Oh, I have to have my own store." Nobody's going out and running out and buying your T-shirt. No one
Right.
cares. There's not millions of people that care. You might sell 50,000 T-shirts, 100,000 T-shirts, but eventually that's not a real business rev generator and model. But where it is a rev generator model is the corporate relationships, the branding, the Instagram posting, doing commercials that are only social. We have a young college football player this year. I'm not going to name his name because my competition will jump. We've made him over $300,000 this year in college, playing college football, doing social media posts because he's got a big brand awareness. He's at a big time college football program, and the companies really enjoy being around him. And he realizes, I'm already a pro. I just happen to have one more year of eligibility. Right? And so it takes that awareness, right?
How about for contract negotiations with social media? Do you guys ever, is that,
Yeah, I mean,
not even a contract
listen.
negotiation, but like, it affects it, right? I mean, it's all out there, right? What are your
You know,
thoughts on that?
I think that it has become worse and worse, you know, with DeMarcus, and that was, you know, the most apples to apples comparison. My battles with the Cowboys versus Micah's battles with the Cowboys, you know, and David Mulligetta, his agent, who's, you know, an incredible agent, incredibly successful over at Athletes First. I think that if you see the parallels there, his contract is directly related to the negativity that his social media presence brought him.
Wow.
He has his own podcast. He's very vociferous on Twitter, and in a great way for him. That's what he wants to do. For me and DeMarcus, it was, let's disappear. Let Twitter call me a piece of shit. I mean, I've been abused. I've been called a money-grubbing Jew with the Xavier Howard stuff here in Miami. I've been called every name in the world. Dude, shoot me. I don't care. Like,
My favorite was your Lady Gaga comment. You got shit on for a good 3 weeks. You remember
no,
that one?
That was not great.
That was one of my favorites.
I said that Lady Gaga might have had the best national anthem since Whitney. And somehow it got turned around.
I go, dude, take that down.
No, it got turned around, though, that I said she was better than Whitney. May Whitney rest in peace. And it wasn't that she was better than Whitney. It was just that her national anthem blew me away. And I happened to be there. And the vibe and the atmosphere,
right.
I got caught. I was at Whitney's too, by the way. But I got caught up in the moment, and I tweeted something. And by the way, I'm way off Twitter, thanks to, investigations calling me a criminal and ESPN articles saying that I bribed the Pope.
I genuinely enjoyed watching you, though,
Sometimes
as a brother,
I'll implode on
shit
Twitter.
Knowing that it didn't bother him, but I was dying laughing. It was just and it wouldn't die.
There's one
it went
specific.
on for weeks, dude.
There's one
Good
specific
morning to
team.
everyone except David Canter.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was my
people
favorite.
killed me. People murdered me for months. I've never taken my Twitter down, but that was the one time I was like, wow. I have had third parties reach out to me during the DeMarcus stuff and during the Trump election and stuff like that. First election, not the second. Or I guess third, because he lost one and he won one. He won two. Telling me to chill the fuck out. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm 52 now, I've gotten more coachable, and also I just don't care as much to be
in there
a punching bag. I had 2 tough years with the ESPN article, and the accusations and all that stuff, and so I enjoy a little bit more anonymity, and I think that my clients don't need it from me anymore, if that makes sense, right? They don't need a personality. They just need me to get them paid.
Right.
Just get me paid.
Right.
Take
And
care of
that's
the
what you do
business.
best, man.
I don't think I have to go to as many games as much as I used to. I think that's my good shift in a way, but also obviously it's my passion. I love it. I love being there.
Right.
I love being around the players. I love seeing them and going out to dinner with them and having a great time with them. And being there if they lose too, right? Because they need somebody to help them and talk to them and all that stuff. And so I think that the great shift for me in the new generation, since I sold the business in 2021, and then I bought it back, but this time I bought it back with Ness and Brian as partners in 2025, is that I can do a podcast for an hour and a half. I can disappear for 2 hours more than normal. Like, it's not disappear. I'm not like shutting the phone off or, but yeah, as soon as the plane takes off, I'm on the Wi-Fi. I'm looking at the phone.
It's good to be with you and have your head up, because I'm one of your closest friends, and sometimes the head's always down.
I tell people that most of the time you'll see the top of my gray hairs and not the
That's the nature
bottoms.
of the business, my friend.
Yeah.
Listen, let me. We got to wrap up because I don't want
Sure,
to be too long.
go.
But advice to young athletes that you would give, trying to make it in the sport, trying to. Because, people come to me all the time just because they know I know you. Hey, can you get my kid this? Can you get my kid that? I mean, listen, I can't get your kid anything. I'll call a guy that maybe can. And 9 out of 10 times, David, you say not interested, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because you're a dick. It just shows the competitiveness, what it takes. Talk just briefly about that and what you would tell kids and what to look for, what you look for in a high school athlete, and where there's a spark.
I think that it's very, very quick. Like your son is a good example, humble brag here. I knew because of Sylvia and your passion and devotion to him that he would have a shot.
Right.
In whatever he chose.
Right.
At one time it was karate or jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It was piano, he was playing music, right? He was doing languages and stuff like that. I knew that his mom and his dad were going to back him all the way, right? And he's very lucky and very blessed because not every kid has a mom and dad that can do it. Right. People have to work, drive to events, things like that. But that if the kid shares the passion for the drive individually and is self-motivated, and he's going out and he's throwing the ball against the wall 10,000 times a day, or he's in the basketball court in the rain shooting at night and doesn't care, or he's getting up at 5 in the morning in the gym. I tell the story all the time. I represent Cody Barton, the captain of the Tennessee Titans. But I don't represent his brother, Jackson, who plays in the NFL also. We have his younger brother, Lander, who's the captain of the team at Utah this year, and God willing, hopefully he has a great year, and we end up representing him in the draft. But Lander would come visit with Cody when he was 14, 15, 16, and he'd be in the gym at 5:30 in the morning with Cody. You knew, as long as he stayed healthy, he was going to have a shot. Doesn't mean he'll play 20 years in the NFL or be a first round pick. That's all to be determined. That's in the ether, right? But if you see that as an agent, if you see Gage Weddle devoted to football, devoted to sports, devoted to getting better, working out with his dad, coming to him for advice, and it's probably the same with my kids, right? I say this to them all the time, to my 3 boys. Do you want it? If you don't want it, I'm not going to push you on it, right? Asher is a great example. He got very, very good, very, very fast at quarterback, but he's the backup to the #1 quarterback in the country.
Literally.
At the hardest school in the country to get on the field for. And so eventually, he realized, I'm not going to be Dia. I can be comfortable in my skin as Asher, or I can just not play, right? And then a couple injuries pile up, and I don't need to work out today because I'm probably not going to play. That's not to knock Asher. It's just his path was different. David, as his father, which is me, I don't care if he plays football. I don't care if he plays basketball. I just care he loves what he does and finds something he's passionate about. So as an agent, if you find players that are obsessed, devoted, driven, determined, have support to get them better, those are the guys you want to represent, even if they're the last pick in the draft or not drafted, right? We have a guy that was an undrafted free agent this year. We spent a ton of money on, ton of resources on. I know for a fact he'll play as long as he can in the NFL. He'll get every ounce out of his career because he's obsessed with being great. Those are the guys you want to represent. You don't want to represent the guy that's in it because he's going to be a celebrity, or because he's going to get a lot of girls, or because he's going to make NIL money. Those are all extemporaneous things that eventually can become part of the picture. But Jacob's going to play lacrosse. He's not getting paid. He's getting a free education, which is all you can ask for as a parent. Like, he's won, right? As long as he stays healthy, God willing, battles, plays, continues, and has fun with it, right? He's not going to be a professional lacrosse player and make a living and support a family, most likely. That's not the support. That's not the sport that you can make enough money that you're going to be like, well, I'll play lacrosse for 10 years and then I'll retire and open up a VC fund, right? You're not going to do that. That's just not the business that you're going to be in. And so I think that if you find players that are aggressive with what they want and also sort of blueprint it, right? Like, I like players that whiteboard their future. I got 132 days to go. Here's what I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, counting down the days till the NFL Combine, counting down the days to my pro day, counting down the days to the draft, counting down the days to my first mini camp. And then the other thing is, it's got to be an obsession. Chase Brown and Sidney Brown are twin brothers that lived in my backyard, and Chase Brown's wife is calling me right now, fully obsessed with greatness.
I remember.
Working out in my backyard after doing 6 hours of workouts, at the gym. And Chase Brown scored a touchdown yesterday. He's the starting running back for the Bengals. Sidney Brown's the starting safety for the Eagles. Like, it makes sense, right? That's how you get to greatness.
It's the passion. Well, listen, we're going to call it there. I don't want to keep you too long. You're too busy of a guy.
Pleasure, bro.
I would love to have you on. I love you. You're
come
my
back
brother.
anytime.
I'll be drinking coffee with you every day.
Now that I know I get a free coffee here.
You get whatever you want here. You get everything. You get the hoodie, too.
I
You
get
want
a hoodie.
I'm going to get you the hoodie. But, David, thank you for coming on. I love you, bro. Thank you for
Love you,
everything.
brother.
Thank you for being a great friend, a great brother, and thank you for everything you do. I love you, bud. And thank you to all
This is how you normally see me, looking at the phone.
Exactly. But thank you to all my viewers. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Two Taps and Friends. You could please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, if you like and subscribe, it brings us a lot of power to bring more people like David on, and it gets us more outreach. You can follow us everywhere. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I can't name them all. We're everywhere. We also have Two Taps and Friends swag at the bottom. A link if you want to buy Two Taps and Friends swag. We got that now, too. We're going to link David Canter stuff at the bottom. It doesn't take much to find him. But thank you all for listening. Love you all. See you next time. Goodbye. Cut. You're the best.